welcome back to the loading screen. My Skype crashed and my Starcraft also crashed, so we had slight technical difficulties, but we are finally back, hopefully, for the first game of the UK Pro League Season 1 second qualifier, and time to introduce the players. Spawning in the top left-hand corner as the Blue Terran, playing for Team Edification Empire, we have Ceonsamea. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner as the Red Terran, currently teamless, we have Drumz. Now, I know a lot about both of these players, mostly Drumz, because he used to be on my first ever team. My first ever team, which was pretty much when I first started StarCraft, was Team Good Game, which is where a lot of players that are still around today come from. It's where Demon came from, it's where Andy Pandy came from, and it's where Famut came from before WCS UK, before he did WCS UK, basically. So he has been around for a long time. He's probably one of the oldest members on the team back then. So he was around a lot longer than I had, and he's a fairly nice guy. Whereas if we have a look at Ceonsamea, he's part of Edification Empire, which some people may recognize more as Mixed Fruit, which is a coaching community rather than a team, but it's been around really long time. Like, there's been some great players that have come out of that, like we have Spiders come out of that, Dzins. So Edification Empire is a good team, and Ceonsamea is currently a coach. He does offer Terran coaching. He is actually features in the pilot episode of my series Coach's Choice, which is up on my channel. But at the moment, we are going to see TVT, which if I remember correctly, Drumz used to be good at, but he has dropped to Diamond since I last saw him. So he's probably dropped off a bit in skill, having not played for a while, so we'll have to see if he's retained that TVT prowess. But for the moment, both players just going for pretty much identical builds with their first gases done, first barracks done. Difference is, though, Ceonsamea has used his in the wall off, whereas Drumz has sort of placed his slap bang in the middle. SCV of Drumz did get into Ceonsamea's base and saw everything, whereas Ceonsamea's SCV hasn't even made its way over yet. Not a single piece of scouting was done that day by Ceonsamea, unless he decides to scan at any point in the near future. Second barracks going down behind the mineral line for Ceonsamea, and he's beginning double Reaper, which is being rallied straight across the opponent's side, so he's going to be using those Reapers for that scouting and to see if he can get any little early damage, whereas Drumz also producing Reapers but hasn't built the second barracks yet, so it's more likely that he will be going for a Reaper expand or going straight for that early tech. And nice shutout there by Ceonsamea, shutting that SCV out of his base, so there will be no extra scouting there by Drumz, who is now throwing down his factory, so going for that tech path. Not going for the huge early expansion. We're going to see Reaper on Reaper wars, and at the moment Drumz' second Reaper is already there, so Ceonsamea having to get out of there as quick as possible. Second Reaper is nowhere near a location where it will be useful. Oh, Reaper does pass SCV, doesn't decide to engage. Sorry, have hiccups. And Drumz, however, is just moving out hhis Reapers in order to check his expansion, see if there's anything there, and now he's going to head across the map, get some scouting, and do some harassment. It looks like he's going to run into both Ceonsamea's Reapers. We're going to have a Reaper on Reaper fight here. Ceonsamea did get the first shot off, so he does have an advantage, chasing Drumz back already. Reaper on Reaper was a bit of pathing dodginess there by Ceonsamea's Reapers, so he is a little bit behind. Both players now, however, are just going to let their Reapers heal up. They don't have that high ground vision that they used to have, so both players need to be very careful with how they use their Reapers. Drumz did have the high ground there, so he would have been in a better position, but Ceonsamea did have more health because he took shots a lot later than Drumz did. Drumz is now throwing down his Stargate and has already started on his expansion. Ceon, on the other hand, already started his expansion in the natural and is a lot further finished. He is now moving in with 4 Reapers, moving into the natural, seeing there's an expansion, but he can see there isn't one down here at least. So he's going to go into the main base where there is no wall off, not that it matters, 2 Reapers, and he's going to move around, see if he can do any kind of harassment here. But no, he's going to run into Hellions, which aren't going to be friendly to those Reapers at all. And Drumz manages to keep his own Reapers alive, and the Hellions will easily drive back the Reapers of Ceonsamea. How many times can I say Reapers in this? I'm hoping someone's keeping count. We have the engineering bay. Oz just started for Ceonsamea, so he's going for a very Biostar. He's going to keep going with the bio upgrades, getting stim for his Marines and producing 3 at a time. Whereas it's almost completely obvious that Drumz is going for at least some kind of tech build, possibly some medevac drops, as he is already starting the armory. It is likely he will continue to go up. Starport is already beginning that medevac production, so we could be seeing those Hellion drops into the expansion, and could be using the armory to allow him to get those Hellbats, which are going to make it incredibly difficult for Ceon to, well, survive any kind of drop. He's also starting to produce some Widow Mines just for that little extra defense, and it does look like this is going to be a drop. So the medevac is heading out there towards the Reapers. There's an SCV there as well, I'm not sure why. Are they going to go in? Nope, doesn't look like there's going to be any kind of drop for the moment. It's just going to chill there for a while, possibly wait for those that transformation ability. And there we go, he's building 2 Hellbats as well now. That medevac will be able to help heal up those Hellbats, and he is moving out. Medevac's surprisingly slow compared to Hellions, but won't make too much of a difference in this case. In the meantime, though, we are seeing the missile turrets being built in the mineral field of Ceonsamea, being very prepared for everything at the moment, throwing 1 down in the natural, 1 down in the main, both finishing up right now, making sure he's very safe. There goes the medevac, boosting into the main, over the main base, the natural expansion ramp on its own, just to have a peek, just to see what is there. Now he does see what is there. He can pick up those Hellions, which he has done. And he's going to try and sneak around, going to try and sneak in. And there's a Hellbat drop going to the top as well. So this is going to be a 2-pronged attack. This one, the Hellbats are likely going to go into the natural, whereas this one's going to go straight into the main base. Army being pulled into the main base in order to defend against this. How much is he going to be able to do? Hellions currently attacking supply depots, which is not the most economical of choices. He needs to be careful. It pulls them out easily, keeping himself alive there. Reapers going into the natural expansion. Marines not prepared to retaliate to this. Needs to pull back the Reapers if he's going to keep himself alive, though. Drumz does lose 1 Reaper, but is still in decent positioning. And there's a bunker. That's going to really help as defense against this Hellbat drop. Question is Drumz still going to go in for it? At the same time, he's dropping the Hellions back to the main base. Medevac does go down, so these Hellions are now stuck here. But the Reapers and Marines are already there, killing off the Hellions with very little damage done. And the Hellbats have been dropped in, but the bunker is easily going to be able to take care of this missile turret, fighting back the medevac. So this one Hellbat is just trying to do the damage here. It does get some workers. So if we have a look here, he's managed to kill a grand total of 4 workers, which isn't terrible, but if the amount that he did spend on trying to do that damage, it's not really ideal. And at the same time, though, Ceon is very much ahead on upgrades, of Drumz only just starting his +1 upgrades for his bio, and at the same time, Ceon is moving in with a double drop of his own, mostly of Marines, with a Marauder in there for extra fun. And it is spotted there by that Reaper, so is Drumz going to be able to prepare for this? There's the boost, going to try and give Drumz a little time to prepare for this as possible. There's no 3rd base ready yet, so he's just going to rally them straight into the main base and try and do as much damage as possible. Has Drumz built missile turrets? No, he has not. So he's just going to have to fight off this with whatever units he has lying around. He has a couple lying around there. He just hasn't set rally points yet. Here come Hellbats, going to try and deal with this. Marines do actually beat Hellbats because they can out-kite them for a long time. He's taking quite a lot of damage though. He is backwards as best as he can, and there we go, pulls into the medevacs, and is just going to get out there. He may lose the medevac of all the units in, and he does. Boost was not ready, wasn't able to boost out of there in time, so not able to keep that medevac full of quite valuable units alive. Did manage to do some damage, will kill at least 1 supply depot, and was able to kill some Hellbats, was able to micro them for a long time and to get their health low, so going to waste some medevac energy healing those up. At the same time, though, Drumz is expanding to his 3rd base. He is breaking down the rocks and is going to be able to do so. Ceon also doing the same. He is but his 3rd base is only just near completion, whereas Drumz already finished and is already landed at the 3rd base location, with SCVs already mining it. So he's in a slightly better position right now. Ceon is, though, building 2 Vikings at the moment, which is going to be very useful at killing off the medevacs, seeing as there's not really much else in the air for Drumz at this point, but every medevac that is lost is going to be that bit of extra gas that could have been spent on Marauders or could have been spent on other kind of mech units. He is just going for this bio army with the Hellbat supports, which are technically bio at the moment for some strange reason. So they will still be healed by the medevacs, which is going to be incredibly useful. And both players just playing a bio style at the moment, and Drumz has managed to somehow get himself ahead economically with that 3rd base already up. If he can stop the 3rd base going up for Ceon, then he's going to be in an amazing position. He's pushing out with a Marine Hellbat force with a single Reaper. He does have Stim. He has one upgrades for his Marines. Doesn't have the upgrades for Hellbats yet. He's getting 2-2, whereas Ceon, on the other hand, only has 1-0. So Drumz has managed to pull ahead in upgrades here as well. He's going to try and break down the rocks here with this Marine force. Medevac's all there and ready. Ceon, has he seen this coming? No, he has not. Ceon doesn't actually see anything from his view here. So this is going to be very interesting, and now Drumz is in the third base. He's breaking through. He's scanned to see where the rest of the army is. Pushing into the third base, going to do huge amounts of damage. There's a repair coming out from Ceon, trying to keep it alive. And here we go, army coming from the high ground. Vikings do huge amounts of damage to the medevac, killing them off fairly easily. But Ceon having to pull back, having to micro a bit, but now his army severely outmatches him because the Hellbats were too busy fighting the workers, and Drumz lifts up his unit and pulls on out of there. The boost easily able to outrun the speed of the Vikings. Hellbats were killed off, and now Drumz is beginning production of his siege tanks, which he desperately is going to need in order to fight off any kind of damage output that Ceon may send at him now. Ceon, though, only 30 supply ahead and is behind in the mining. He did just lose quite a few minerals trying to work on all of that, trying to kill off that, repair that base, sorry. And he hasn't been mining as long as Drumz, so Drumz is slightly ahead in the economy, but at the moment he's just kind of building mass Marines while he gets his siege tanks up. He's getting his +1 for his tanks, so we're going to try and do the damage here. To say, Ceon is already here though, and he does have some Marauders, so he could possibly bust through here. Only one tank on the field for Drumz at the moment, so it's going to be very difficult for him. He's going to have to just bust through this and hold it back while the tank does the damage. Micro back, only tiny amount of damage done there, catching the very edge of the splash damage. Very nice micro there by Ceon. He does have a lot of medevac energy, so he's going to get a lot of healing, and choosing not to completely engage yet though, being careful, not taking it too risky, just going to let himself heal up, and then he's going to head back in either via drop or just into a safer position. And this is getting quite scary at the moment. We're seeing Drumz throw down another factory, so he's really moving into this mech style. Ceon also throwing down his factory, but he's already researching, he's now finally researching his 2-2 for his infantry, whereas Drumz already has his. And Ceon is actually behind in tech at the moment, but he's still ahead in army supply. He still has the slightly bigger army. He's actually mining quite well. He's throwing down another expansion in front of his third base so he can saturate that all the quicker. And Drumz is actually moving out. He's getting ready to go for it again. Not sure what Ceon's doing at the moment. He may be getting ready for some sort of ambush here. He does have that sensor tower ready. Not sensor tower, he does have the Ceonsamea tower, and he sees the army. Siege tanks are already sieged up. Vikings coming in from the high ground, but they're not going to be much use here. Siege tanks now out of range. Drumz needs to engage in these siege tanks if he's going to have any kind of efficient engagement at all. The problem is medevac count is very much in favor of Ceonsamea, and he does still have those Marauders, which are going to be so useful to crushing through if he could just get in range of those tanks. There are so many Marines in between him and those tanks. It's very difficult. Drumz already has a 4th base now as well. He's actually doing really well in terms of his economy. He's managing to catch up, and and here we go, more Marine reinforcements joining up with the army. Same for Ceon at this point, but here we go. Ceon now actually has a tank in the mix. Tanks very far forward now. They could actually be killed off quite easily here. And there we go. Ceon is tearing through this tanks, doing massive damage. This is very close. Both players pushing each other back. The medevacs are all gone for Drumz, and Ceon pushes through with those Marauders, going to be able to take down those tanks. Vikings landing to kill off the rest of the Marines, and he does get it. The reinforcing unit's easily going to go down, and Ceon takes the engagement, putting him in a brilliant position. Needs to be taking that 4th base though as soon as possible. More units streaming across the map to meet his army, whereas Drumz is just trying to rebuild at this point. He's building 2 tanks, both players building 2 tanks at a time, plus 3 infantry weapons starting up for Ceon, plus 1 is vehicle weapons is just about to finish up for Ceon. And Ceon is a bit behind his vehicle upgrades, but is now ahead in his infantry upgrades, which are what is winning him the battle at the moment, able to take down those tanks. Needs to build a couple more Vikings as well, just to keep that advantage that he did have. Drumz at the moment using his drop to take out the Ceonsamea tower, just to make sure he has that little extra vision. And oh dear, Drumz is going to fight in a very unfavorable position here. And oh, Ceon did lose one of his tanks there. Second one is up. It's 2 tanks against 1. But the bio army of Ceon immediately coming and getting the flank, killing off the entire bio army. Down go the tanks. and Ceon is crushing through this right now. He's moving in to try and deal a decisive blow. He's going to meet with a very large fire army though from Drumz here. Is he going to be able to fight this off? No, he's going to have to pull back. There were some siege tanks a bit further back doing the serious damage, and Drumz doing a very good job of fighting this back. We are just seeing Marine tanks pushing back and forth here. Ceon is now expanding 2 more times. He now is on 5 base once he gets SCVs there, which he is sending out. There is a drop heading into that 5th base, but it does get killed off very quickly. So very nice play there by Ceon, keeping himself alive. Both players approaching Matt Ceon a bit faster. 16 Marines being built at a time for Drumz, 11 for Ceon, and both players are producing 2 tanks at a time. This is how Drumz is keeping himself in the game. He's keeping himself up to date with his production, keeping himself in the game with the amount of units he is building. And oh, Ceon being very careless with those medevacs, almost lost quite a few there. But here comes the huge bio. I mean, there's both players scanning each other. Both players know exactly what's going on, and Ceon can hit that from up there, forcing a cancel. Needs to be very careful where he engages here. Oh, something took some damage. I'm not sure what took some damage there. I think it was some of the reinforcing units there for Ceon. Tank sieging up. We're now going to see some tank wars. Not in range of each other. Some Marines taking some damage. Oh, one tank on the high ground taking damage from the tank on the low ground of Drumz. So we're seeing scans being used left, right, and center here. We do have a bit of a standoff, but Ceon is easy in the more favorable position with that high ground advantage. So it's going to be very hard for Drumz to push up into that choke. And at the same time, Ceon can do exactly this. He can just drop in. He needs to be careful though. That lost a lot of Marines there thanks to those missile turrets, but now he's going to be able to push in with this small attack force and try and do some damage. On the other hand, Drumz has decided, you know what, forget this, and he's moving out by the looks of it, going to try and do some damage, where Ceon already doing massive amounts of damage. Drumz is just going to go for this, and is basically going to try and base race. Ceon has no idea this is happening right now, so he's going to be a bit behind this. He does now. He's met the majority of the army in the center of the map here, and he's going to attack himself and go to the base race with the small advantage he does have. He is a base ahead of his opponent right now, and is just going to push in and do the damage. That, and Ceon already has Vikings, so going to do huge amounts of damage. Pushing in with the Marines, going to easily take out huge amounts of the production here. Down it goes. Barracks dying left, right, and center. That's going to be almost all of the reinforcements for Drumz, putting him in a really bad position. At the same time, Drumz though was already pushed into the natural and is gutting the natural expansion. But Ceon is just doing so much damage. He's sieged the bottom of the ramp, kind of preventing his own units from getting in there, but he also has the high ground vision, so he's going to be able to destroy anything, putting up resistance there. Drumz army is going pretty much uninhibited here, and is doing huge amounts of damage. Ceon's finally pushing into the main base, going to try and do as much damage as possible. We are in a complete and utter base race scenario at the moment. Ceon moving some tanks back into the back of his main base, going to try and keep himself alive with those. At the same time though, Drumz is building everywhere on the map right now, flying his barracks off as far as he can go, and is just going to try and win this through base race right now. Ceon not doing the same. He's just fighting to the death, going to try and survive with tanks right now. At the same time, he's completely gutting Drumz, but Drumz is only on 120 supply right now compared to Ceon's 150, but Ceon is completely supplied, but finally firing off his buildings. Tanks did go down, but they was able to kill off a large chunk of Drumz army in the meantime. He has a couple of Marines scattered around that aren't doing huge amounts of damage, but he's going to be able to kill off huge amounts of buildings. But it looks like Ceon may be able to take this, but there are buildings everywhere. He needs to take this quickly, or at least engage Drumz to stop him killing off everything he has. This is going to be quite tight. If you have a look at the amount of buildings left for both players using the mini-map, we can see that Drumz is just scattered all over the place, but doesn't have as many. But Ceon is very grouped up with what he has. He's now built a lot of command centers, though, and is just going to fly off and just pretty much supply some fuels, and has a factory fortress, which is going to be very hard for him to take without leaving his siege tanks exposed. This is looking very risky at the moment. Not that many SCVs left for Drumz at the moment. He's killing off so many buildings, but he needs to get the rest of the command centers. He doesn't really know where they are. He's based. This is why it's so hard to base race a Terran. They can just fly away and put stuff everywhere. It's so difficult. And there we go. Here is the march of the barracks right now, taking damage from that singular Marine. And Drumz is moving in, getting ready to do some decisive damage to where the majority of buildings are. But Ceon is attacking from the rear. He's going to try and get some damage on the tanks, but no Marines come and tank a lot of the shots from the Marines. But he lost the majority of his own Marines to the tanks of Ceon. So this is looking good for Drumz at the moment when it comes to the tanks. He's using his barracks for tank vision, whereas Drumz is limited to this one Marine, but Drumz is so far behind on the Marine count, whereas Ceon still has his Marines on the field and is able to continue to do damage to Drumz. At this point, Drumz is on 47 supply to Ceon's 106, and Ceon isn't supply blocked anymore. Assuming he can get his economy up, he can keep producing, and that's what he's doing. He's building 2 tanks at a time, just finished building a Marine, dropping Marines on the tanks as Ceon. He's doing so much damage. First set of tanks does go down, second one goes down, third one does go down before the Marines get there. That was the last amount of tanks for Drumz. He's not producing anymore, he's building a starport. Here come the Marines from Ceon doing the damage, and there's the GG from Drumz, and Ceon takes the first game.